All right, so we're still on the skeletal system. Still on the skeletal system. All right, so the last time we met, I would have looked at joint. So for those persons who would have been absent from that class, just simple watch the recording on the YouTube channel, because of course I would have placed the link in it in the group. All right, so we're going to finish up the skeletal system today. We just have a few concepts to look at. One which will be posture. I don't know how many persons would have heard that term before. Now, in terms of posture, it is basically the position in which you have the human body, whether you're sitting, walking, or if you're lifting up some weight. There is, of course, a right way and there's a wrong way of doing that. Let's say, for example, you're standing. They normally said that the body weight should be evenly distributed between both legs. That is if you're standing. So let's say, for example, you're standing and you lean up on something and the body weight is just on one foot. Then definitely that is not good posture. That is poor posture. So good posture means that the body is held correctly so that there is only slight tension in the muscles. So that simply means that no muscle should be working more than the other. So of course, that's what the definition. So factors that affect the skeleton. So we're going to look at some different things that human being does or that human don't do that will affect their skeleton system. So the first one is poor posture. Now, if you should exercise or doing poor posture, then you will cause muscular strain. So strain on the muscles and they lose their tone. So tone mean in terms of the strength. Good morning, good morning. So that's the first pointer giving you an idea as to different things that can affect the proper functioning of the human skeletal system. So of course, poor posture is one. The second one is down saying, and this definitely will go to the females. High heel shoes can cause a bad posture while standing. Now you will realize that if you're standing in a flat-footed shoes, then definitely the body weight will be evenly distributed among both legs. But for somebody who wear high heel shoes, I'm quite sure that their knee, the muscles to the front of their body, also will be bearing a whole lot, because if you realize that when somebody is in high heel shoes, then it's like the heel section of their foot is off the ground. So that's definitely mean that the body weight will be like pushing forward. Because if you're standing up on your toe point, you will realize that you have a tendency of falling forward than falling backward. And that definitely give you an idea as to how persons who wear high heel shoes feel. Now, whenever an individual is in a high heel shoes, in order for them to be balanced, the top section of their body, they have to lean it backward to actually keep themselves balanced, because naturally the high heel shoes going to actually push the human body forward. So they have to make that corrective mechanism, meaning that the upper body part, then they have to kind of lean back so that they can remain standing. And all of those change in terms of body mechanism gonna put some form of strain on the muscles. So wearing high heel shoes, they are saying that that is causing you to be doing bad posture in terms of the skeleton system. So definitely the legs will be strained simply because the body weight normally tilt or push forward. Arthritis, now this is a ever considerable growing problem, especially in older persons. Inflammation of the joints. So as for arthritis, now what is arthritis? Now it have to do with the deterioration of their cartilage. Now normally cartilage are normally at the ends of bones where you have a joint. For example, looking on the screen, we're actually seeing the knee joint. So we're seeing for example, the knee joint. Now the bones that form the knee joint, just get it right. So looking at the one to the left, that's the one I have the cursor over. Now, as you can see, the end of the bones, they actually have a white appearance, so are clearer appearance. Now that represents the cartilage. Now, if there is no cartilage, then the bones will naturally rub against each other. And once they start to rub against each other, that's what you're seeing in the middle. So the middle diagram is showing the bones, for example, literally touching each other. So if the bones are literally touching each other and there's no cartilage, then now you're going to actually have a lot of friction being developed, and the persons now start to experience pain. Now, individuals at your age, your cartilage should be working properly. That simply means that you shouldn't be suffering from arthritis. But once you get older in terms of reaching adulthood, let's say for example, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70 years old, that's when you start complaining about arthritis. And that is simple because as time progresses, your cartilage normally wear out. Normally wear, just like how you buy one shoes, and as you wear the shoes, the bottom might walk down and you walk down until it actually just can't wear anymore. Same thing with cartilage. The older you get, the more worn out your cartilage will be, especially after you reach like 45, 50, going into old adulthood. So once the cartilage would have been worn out, then the persons start to experience pain, and that is simply because there's nothing in the joint anymore to cushion it, offer some amount of cushion. So they are literally feeling the bones touching against each other. So that's what they mean when that pointer is saying deterioration. So deterioration means they get wear out. Alright, so this is a deterioration of the cartilage covering the bones in the joints. Dislocation, this is another factor or something else that will affect your skeletal system. So this normally happens when a bone is forced out of its normal position in the joint cavity. Now, as for dislocation, we generally don't use dislocation. We normally say in bone slip out or a joint slip out. So the scientific term or the proper term to use is dislocation. So let's say for example, somebody is playing football and somebody tackle them body and then shoulder, then drop on their shoulder, then that shoulder can dislocate. Then we normally say that it slip out. And once you go to the doctor, then the doctor will actually just shove it back in place. Or once you is experienced and you know how to do it, you don't need to go to a doctor. You can just slip it back right in place. So that is known as very whether you do it or the doctor do it, it go painful. Right. Well, if you don't do it properly, but I mean, it don't necessarily mean that because it's the doctor, it is less painful. Once somebody you definitely know how to do it, but if you don't know how to do it, then definitely it will be more painful. So the correct term is dislocation, and it can be as a result of you making a bad step, or as I said, you fall and drop on the shoulder there. Next one is fractures. Now we normally say you get a broken bone or something. So whenever somebody experiences a broken bone, the scientific term is fracture. It's just that we have different type of fractures. Some of the fracture is when the bone this has barely cracked. And a complete fracture is when the bone totally break. So this occurs when you put more pressure on a bone than it can stand, causing it to crack, split, or break. So if it crack, it is a fracture. We normally call it soft fracture or incomplete fracture. And once it actually break, mean that it literally break in two, then definitely complete fracture. So a break of any size is called a fracture. So, so rather than saying your hand break, when you go to the doctor, if they are writing prescription or writing up any medical report, is fracture is the word that they would be using and not break. Osteoporosis, that's another factor that affect our skeletal system. This is a condition in which the bone matrix is lost and not replaced, resulting in an increased softening and weakening of the bones. So matrix, it is like some chemical substance we will get as a result of consuming or eating food. So if we're not eating, let's say for example, the right amount of nutrients, and nutrients, let's say for example calcium, then definitely we will suffer from this disease. So in a nutshell, osteoporosis is basically whenever we're not eating properly and the bones don't get softer than normal. And once our bones are soft, then definitely it is dangerous, because definitely that simply means that your bones will not be able to withstand or bear pressure or weight. Let's say for example you're jumping and all of that, then your bones would easily shatter just like a glass, simply because they are too soft, they are brittle. Then we have rickets. Another condition is a disease in which your children caused by a deficiency of vitamin D and C and calcium. Right, so if you're not eating enough vitamin C, so this should be young children. You see that pointer there? Rickets, this is a disease it should be young. It should be young children here, rather than you. So it should be young children caused by a deficiency in vitamin D, in calcium, resulting in soft and deformed bone. So that simply means that the bones, they are soft in terms of formation. They are not straight, for example, or they're supposed to be straight. So nutrition again have to do with that. Then definitely we have sprains. Occurs when a ligament is damaged or torn because excessive force is applied to the joint. So that can happen in physical contact sport. Let's say for example football, NFL, basketball, any one of those sport where have persons' bodies maybe contact or collide with each other, then that can cause sprain. So the ligament definitely, they are saying that would be damaged, torn, or basically have a slight tear in it. So all those are different factors that affect our skeletal system. So we have the sprain there, rickets, osteoporosis, we have the fractures, dislocation, arthritis, and of course poor posture. So those all have negative effects on the human skeletal system. Right, so that should conclude it for the skeletal system. Next class will definitely move on to something else. Now I realize that trust me, the turnover for the class is really poor. So just 3 persons online now. I mean, just 3 persons. So well, the videos, I mean, they are there. So I hope that persons are watching them, because as you realize, in a few week times you will be doing your end of term examinations. So especially for those end of term examination whenever you're studying, I will I'm not sure, I can't give you that information. I guess now it will be communicated in the WhatsApp groups, but I'm not sure.